Welcome in. Great to have you with us as the New York Knicks 6-game winning streak, man, comes to an end at the world's most famous, man, in a funky, sloppy game. Obviously, the New York Knicks, man, completely gassed heading into this one, man. The scheduling, as we all know, has not been kind, man, to the New York Knicks. We will talk about that. But last night, obviously, this is a double reaction, man. Last night was just an amazing, gritty win, come from behind performance, man, where a lot of guys stepped up and, and definitely had their huge season, come to, you know, ahead, I guess, after winning, the NBA Cup championship. But the big win in Indiana, man, where Kolek was huge, and tonight was more of a reality check, a come back down to earth per se. But I thought, yeah, our New York Knicks, man, a lot of guys just didn't have it tonight, man. Brunson, legs were gone late in this game today, man. Couldn't hit buckets. I don't think he was aggressive either. OG Anunoby barely scoring, man, until, the fourth quarter. But Mitchell Robinson's performance tonight, man, great to see Mitch show what he is capable of, more on a consistent basis, right? Mitchell Robinson's been just absolutely phenomenal. We've all been waiting for Mitch to, to show the kind of game that he has. We've seen last season the difference in the playoffs. Mitchell Robinson's really stepping it up tonight, man. 21 points, season high, and the New York Knicks bullied the Sixers on the glass tonight. But it just goes to show, man, the 3-point ball wasn't there. You live by the 3, you die by the 3. But welcome in, buzzer beater, Chris Gotti, Dermot, salute. LB New York City 89, and David salute says we're needing Alvarado. Lily Phillips, tough loss, fatigue, and struggled against the dribble penetration. Look, Tyrese Maxey's great, man, and he gets up for these games at MSG. But obviously VJ Edgecombe, man, the first look we've had against him at MSG, his athleticism was big time. But look, we've got to start with the scheduling, right? Let's make that point. To my knowledge, Sixers, man, they didn't play until Sunday, right? They have not played until Sunday last week, right? Which is, 5 days? I mean, that's crazy. The Knicks go to the Cup Championship, right? Big night. Obviously, it was celebrated tonight before the game. I saw a nice tribute video. I thought that was cool. I do want to give my thoughts on the whole, not hanging a banner kind of thing. I do want to talk about that tonight as well. I do think the Knicks will probably in the future hang that banner, but I think it's kind of a thing where they want to avoid the situation where that might backfire, where the season might, not go according to plan. I do think they're going to revisit that, but obviously, man, it was a great accomplishment last night, man. What a win in Indiana, where so many guys stepped up in adversity. And look, tonight, man, we could have got away with this one, man. Couple of bounces here, a couple of shots late. It was a 3-point game until the final 2-3 minutes, but Maxey got loose. Lily Phillips says, yeah, we shot awfully and we'll bounce back. Mitch is an animal. Johnny Chiba, salute. The captain didn't have that clutch gene tonight, man. Look, he's human, it just goes to show. Look, I'm really frustrated. I really want to win this game against Philly. Right, obviously there's that rivalry. There's always going to be that rivalry. But the Knicks on a 6-game winning streak, and we will touch on the schedule because, we do have Miami, Minnesota, and then obviously the big Christmas Day game against the Cavaliers. So, we're going to learn more about this team. We've been through so much already this season. It feels like we're still learning a lot about the team, and we're going to find out how we do against, some more tougher opponents. But obviously, to this point, winning the NBA Cup championship is supposed to be a springboard. A lot of teams have won the Cup. Well, a couple of teams that have won the Cup kind of got a little bit of a hangover. And, although I don't think they were as strong as the Knicks are currently in. So I do think that's going to be an outlier. I do think, the Bucks winning it, the Lakers winning that NBA Cup championship, I don't think they had that championship really aspiration to get out of their conference, whereas the New York Knicks do. So we'll see how we do, fam. But yeah, happy holidays to everyone out here, everyone coming through the building. Jose G, salute, yours truly. Many blessings to everyone, and I hope everyone is enjoying the holidays, safe and blessed. Um, Look, hate to lose to Philly. I'm sure all of y'all feel the same. But Maxi, VJ Edgecombe, no Embiid, they were able to play more fast. And obviously the 5-day break, shots were going down. But I thought, a swing play was obviously the challenge call that Nick Nurse won. And that was kind of a crazy challenge call. OG fumbled the ball midair and then he was really fouled but didn't have possession. So that was bogus. Cat, I really felt Cat getting to the basket was fouled too, with his, big drive to the rim, straight line drive, kind of a little bit out of control. They usually get those foul calls or they don't, and Cat didn't get that call. A rough night from Kolek, like Lily Phillips says, like Kolek Khaos. Mike Breen said it on the call. I tweeted that out yesterday. Maybe Mike Breen saw my tweet, but from Lynn Sanity to Kolek Khaos, Kolek's, he's coming of age, and it's great for our season. Looking forward to seeing, Kolek continue to grow as the season progresses. But big shout out to Mike Brown. Big shout out to Kolek for showing what he's showing. And I don't think he should be traded, man. Kolek needs to stick around, right? His passing was a little off tonight. Maybe, again, the legs. Maybe it was a case of, him playing big minutes in big spots is just sort of really affecting him at the moment, right? And learning to fight through that, right? I don't think Sixers really showed us anything that would worry us in the future, man. I just think they were rested. So yeah, let's just chalk this one up to a schedule loss. Man, not being disrespectful to the Sixers, they do have talent. They got some great players. Paul George didn't really have much going tonight, but obviously Andre Drummond, man, the 3-4 threes from the corner, should have cut him off, man. Shouldn't have let him get those easy looks, right? He can knock them down now. It's kind of crazy. He's become a better corner three-point shooter than a free throw shooter is Andre Drummond. But to counter that, Mitchell Robinson, what can I say? Absolutely phenomenal performance from Mitch. It's just disappointing it wasn't enough to get it done, man. We absolutely bullied those guys in the paint too. Benjamin B says the game just didn't feel real. Like those guys couldn't miss. Yeah, look, fresh legs, man. Like these are NBA pros, man. You'd have 5 days off. That's significant. Like how many times, I don't think at any point outside of an all-star break, no team gets 5 days rest, and I just think we can just, chalk this up to a schedule loss, fam. It'll be business as usual in the next game where we got to get up to beat the Miami Heat. Fam, that's going to be a big one, right? Obviously the season standings has been, up and down with against Orlando, against Miami, the teams out in Florida, but we've got the Heat, we've got Minnesota, and we've obviously got Cleveland, right? Let's go at least 2-3, hopefully 3-3. But honestly, I kind of saw Huck Porty on the bench. He did look a little bit down, or just sort of the body language. I really felt Huck Porty should have got some opportunities tonight. Yabusele started, but then was benched again in the second half. So I don't really know what Mike Brown's trying to do. Is he just trying to cut Yabusele some slack and get him some opportunities? But I really think Diawara should have played more in this one. I mean, no need to continue to ride these guys when the schedule has been kind of crazy. That's why you have the end of the bench. Last night, Trey Jemison won Defensive Player of the Game. Shout out to him. I like Trey Jemison. I'm a fan of him, and I think he deserves more minutes. Huck Porty the same. I thought McCullough got a couple of opportunities last night, but really a real quick hook. Thought McCullough could have played tonight. I mean, second night of a back-to-back. I know you welcome Cat back, you welcome Hart, and you obviously get Mitch back for this one. But how about the guys that put in a shift last night with JB, OG, and a lot of the other guys, Macau, like ease up on their minutes. They just didn't have it going in this one. Again, yeah, shout out to Mitch, 7 free throws in a row. They tried hacker Mitch. Is that the turning of the tide? Nick Nurse trying to hacker Mitch. Mitch knocked 6 or 7 free throws in a row down, man. I've got to check his percentage, but it's definitely up above the 30-40% now. down from what a pathetic 17% it was as well. Macau Salute says, on the bright side, our Knicks gave him a run for their money, despite the Knicks extremely gassed. What more if the Knicks have fresh legs too? Yeah, I think this one's on the coach as well. He could have been a bit more flexible with the rotations. Look, Kolek didn't really have it going. Obviously, I talked on that. I do think obviously he's playing more minutes now. He's getting used to that. But great signs for the future with Kolek and what he's showing, man. I think one of the missing things is the 3-point shot, man, because the way he's driving and getting into the paint, Kolek is really, making the defense work too. Saw that nice play tonight where he sort of got the defender on his back like JB in the paint, kept his dribble alive, and then knocked the floater down as well, or the scoop layup too. So I do think, TKO really showing us more moves defensively. Bit of a regression tonight, but as a whole, he's definitely been, growing in that area. Tyler Kolek's not, as weak defensively as he was in the last, season. So he's got stronger as well, and he's looking more ready offensively, right? A couple of sloppy passes though tonight, turning it over. You could see the adrenaline was starting to flow. Yeah, David agrees, man. Jemison definitely deserves to play some more minutes. We had the paint on lock, but I think defensively, we didn't have the legs. The shots weren't going down. You live by the three, you die by the three. I thought Hart was, pretty poor late, man. He was sloppy. And I do think obviously coming back, maybe they rushed Hart back. But this one, man, maybe they should have sat Hart one more game. He just didn't have it late, man. What happened with that loose ball late? No one wanted to go for it. Hart was like looking at it. Brunson was looking at it. And they just let the ball bumble to a Philadelphia player who obviously, they showed hustle, 5 days rest. They got up for it this one, man. But we'll get them back. Michael, salute. Great to see you in the building. Everyone else rocking with us. Salute to Replay Squad. Hit that like button. Obviously, our regular post-game scheduling will be back to usual just before the new year, but I'm currently on the road, so reacting on these Instagram lives, shouting you guys out. But what a run it's been so far. 6, wins in a row before tonight. Obviously, set our season up to make huge noise come the postseason. I want to talk a little bit about last night and then about the NBA Cup banner, situation. Not really going to give tonight's game too much energy, but look, last night, on the road, the scheduling again wasn't kind to the Knicks, but it just goes to show our depth is possibly better than many people felt. Jemison, defensive player of the game, he stepped up huge last night. Kolek, man, some of the buckets and the plays he was making, especially defensively last night too. Andrew Nembhard tried to get that win for Indiana, but it was the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson, man, right, getting Andrew Nembhard back, man, for that dirty shove as well. The step back killer, man, what a killer win. And I do think right off the fresh of the NBA Cup just goes to show that, the Knicks ain't going to rest on that. It was one night in Vegas. They forget about it now, fam, and they move on, right? And the New York Knicks organization, man, came out, decided not to hang that banner, right? And I had a bit of time to think about it. Look, initially reading it, I was kind of a little bit disappointed. I thought, let's celebrate the accomplishment. Yes, we know the NBA Cup championship is not the Larry O'Brien NBA Cup, NBA chip that we all know and love, right? And the biggest prize, the big prize that you need to win, right, to call yourself NBA champions, NBA world champions, right? But look, this competition is growing. It's only 3 years in. It's going to continue to grow, right? And the Knicks have not won anything significant, obviously, for how long, we all know, right? That ain't lost on me. That ain't lost on y'all. How long the Knicks and how long our fans have been waiting for us to celebrate, an actual win of some kind, right? I don't believe winning a division and winning a conference is the same as winning an NBA Cup championship. I know it's only in its 3rd year, but to me, there's a difference between coming first in a league-wide, competition format versus winning a division or a conference and then you lose in the finals or you don't win the finals, right? That's like celebrating coming second best, right? Yes, you win a division, but do they give you a trophy for a division? Does anybody celebrate winning a division? Does anybody celebrate winning a conference if you lose in the finals? Yeah, you could celebrate being a king of the East if you go on to win the whole thing. But winning an NBA Cup, right? There's 30 teams, and you saw the players. They all wanted to win, right? It's a competition that teams and players were trying hard. They were trying their hardest to try to win. Oklahoma City were pissed off that they did not win. And the Spurs, they knocked them off. And then we knocked off the Spurs as well. So, look, great to see the Garden acknowledge and celebrate tonight. As I say, in the future, I think they might revisit. Hopefully they do. Whatever happens in the season, obviously, if we win the NBA championship, that's what we want to do. That's the main goal. And if we do that, maybe they'll hang, two banners. But yeah, maybe they don't want that, attention drawn to, celebrating the NBA Cup when there's so much work to still be done, right? And I know there's also that, story out there that James Dolan, Adam Silver, obviously have had, a kind of a crusty relationship right now, and that could have a lot to do with it. There was reports that, the organization internally was a little bit split, divided between hanging the banner and not. Mike Brown was a big fan of hanging the banner. He said in the presentation that, that a banner would come, but look, it is what it is, man. The NBA Cup's in the past now, we move on. But for us fans, like, I didn't celebrate any less. It was an accomplishment that the players are proud of. And we tried, we wanted to win this thing, we did. And obviously, though, the season continues, man. We don't wait for no one, right? We don't want to fall off. So I get them not wanting to celebrate with the banner, and get too carried away. The job is not done. In the words of Kobe Bryant, the job is not done, too. So yeah, we got some back and forth in the chat, man. Yeah, you guys keep it real, keep it respectful. But look, I'm a big Mike Brown fan for what he's been able to achieve, so far. But yeah, I don't think tonight was Mike Brown's best effort. But I don't think Tibbs' approach wouldn't have changed tonight. I think he would have rode the starters a lot. Because yeah, I really feel like guys like McCullough, Diawara, Trey Jemison should have got more minutes tonight. But yeah, look at our record. Look at the success we're having offensively. I think it's been, it's been an upgrade for me. But obviously the postseason, Tibbs has had great success getting us some postseason success. Couldn't get us to the finals, but the players, and obviously, the throwing away game 1 against Indiana was, unprecedented. I do think, look, the ball handling size factor, I do think this roster still has some flaws. I'm not like a fan that's, can't see any flaws and that kind of thing. I feel like there's significant improvements still to be had. Leon Rose is going to address it. You definitely don't trade Tyler Kolek, though. Obviously, what he's shown is a significant development. But, you don't stop. You build around, trade maybe Yabusele, Clarkson, possibly try to get another veteran. Actually, I saw a report coming on, guys, that Chris Middleton is a serious buyout candidate. He's on $30 million, but Washington, they could come to an agreement that, later in the season, right, they don't really need him hanging around. Obviously, if he was to get a buyout, Chris Middleton could be a guy that, for 20 minutes a night. He ain't Chris Middleton of 5 years ago, but if he could give us, that defense, knock down some shots, mid-range is still effective. A guy that could have guarded Paul George tonight, a guy that could have, helped guard a Maxey, or, another guy like a McCain, VJ Edgecombe too. So yeah, we do see some, athleticism, sort of shortcomings. Obviously, Kolek, floor bound. Brunson's floor bound, ground bound. Hart, more ground bound. Mikal Bridges as well. Some more guys that can play a little bit above the rim. I think is what we could be looking at. Um, and we'll see how it all goes, fam. Definitely worse night for the players. They were just exhausted, says Michael. Yeah. They got smoked still, no excuses. Yeah, look, I don't think any player will be making no excuses, But as fans, you got to just, sum up the situation from tonight. Second night of a back-to-back. But I think Mike Brown tonight could have done a better job extending other people's minutes. Yeah, I do think that the Yabusele situation, that's going to come to a head, guys. December 15 is obviously hit, and it's trade season now, right? So, we are going to start to hear a lot more reports. As for a Jose Alvarado with Kolek showing what he's showing, look, I wouldn't turn my nose down at an Alvarado pickup. They could find a way to make it work. Obviously, the playoffs, Kolek's still unproven. Again, can't get too carried away with regular season stuff. But yeah, I'm looking at another wing, right? You saw, no OG, limited impact tonight. Just, we've seen his legs. When OG doesn't have the legs, right? When he's on and he's ready to go and he's springy, and then when he just doesn't have it. Mikal as well. Like I said, he's more ground bound as a wing. He ain't playing above the rim. That kind of does frustrate me a little bit about Mikal Bridges, right? As phenomenal as he is and how he's been, his game, it's not above the rim, Yeah, he goes for those layups. He gets blocked a lot. And look, we do need to shout out Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet. Those guys are working their way back. We'll see them in the new year, most likely. Deuce possibly earlier. But obviously, yeah, those guys do add a lot more shot making. And look, you can only go so far as well if you don't have those guys off the bench hitting shots. Look, Clarkson, been the hero of the NBA Cup. I think for the most part we're getting the Jordan Clarkson experience. Hitting buckets, floaters, but turning it over, boneheaded decisions, all of that. And that's going to continue. But you can't just rely on a Jordan Clarkson, guy to be your main spark off the bench. So, look, getting Deuce back, to me, he's still our sixth man, right? Hart looks like he's a starter for good. Mitch, seventh man. Deuce is the sixth man. Mitch, the seventh man. As for the eighth, ninth, man, I think that's still up for grabs. Kolek obviously is more, shuffled into that eighth man right now based on his recent play. Yabusele coming up quite negative right now. Clarkson, probably the eighth man. Kolek, the ninth man. Let's see what happens. I think we're still learning a lot about this team, fam. So, and as Mike Brown continues with the show this season, Mike Brown's going to learn a lot more about his guys. He's still trusting some guys a little bit, too much, I think, with the Yabusele kind of thing. And I do think that, we're getting close to just have a seat permanently now, Yabusele, if we ain't already there. And that's my personal take on it. Everyone might be different. We're kind of giving Yabusele, a longer leeway for this season, and really he hasn't been effective. It's time to give some younger guys more of a shot. And I do think they are going to look to move that salary right now if his play don't, really switch it up. Brian says, I would have benched JB late. It was obvious his legs are wood. Yeah, you said it. I agree. Do we have any news that Deuce and Shamet are coming back soon, Michael? Yeah, look, I think Shamet, we don't really have any report concrete, but if you just see Shamet, he's rehabbing well, he's out of the sling. I do think the contact thing, they want to obviously wait a little bit because you don't want that shoulder to come back out of play. So they are going to be more cautious. I don't think we'll see Shaman until, maybe late January at the earliest. Could be even later. As for Deuce McBride, I do think Deuce McBride has a real shot to get back within the next week to 2 weeks. I think Deuce is really progressing well. Johnny Chiba says, the players who play poorly are capable of performing well in the clutch, turning their game around. Ish happens. Yeah, just 82 games. Today was more of a schedule loss, but New York City Graces, Shamet needs love. Yeah, I do think, Shamet could be that 8th guy, fam. Maybe Kolek the 9th guy, Shamet that 8th guy. But I do think in that Yabusele spot, we need someone capable of replacing that with size. If you're not going to play Yabu, or you are going to trade Yabu, I do think we need a guy with some size and length, right, to come off the bench. Because, look, as stellar as OG and Macau Bridges have been, and Hart's been a little erratic tonight, but those guys, they play hard. They play 100 miles an hour, and, when those guys go to the bench or when they sit out, we need someone to come in and really replace that and really, give this team another spark. And look, whether it's a trade or a buyout, guys, I'll be looking at trying to find someone, that's 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", and can defend, right? We've got enough shot makers. We need some guys that can lock down, some more guys, so we're just not putting too much of the load on OG and Macau Bridges. Man, they are human, fam. The human body can only do so much and could break down if they're exhausted. Cavs are in, absolute free fall, Michael. Look, I'm reluctant to big up Philly too much, but you see the vision. When you see Maxey going off, you see VJ Edgecombe doing what he's doing. You see maybe Embiid who's out, who, could give them something. You see Jared McCain and you see Grimes. You think, look, Philadelphia have potential, man. They could be a top 4 seed. Right now, I'm not looking at the Cavs. They need to get it together to be taken too seriously. But if Philly, and with on the back of Maxey, who's an all-star level player, and obviously we know what Embiid can do when he's healthy, I do think Philly could be a bigger threat. Donovan Mitchell's more of a one-man band. If Evan Mobley ain't, getting right. Johnny Chibas, it sounds like Herb Jones you're describing, CT. Pretty much, fam. A player of that mold. But even, could be to a lesser extent. I'll take it. Also the big man situation. I mean, Mitchie still can't play huge minutes. Do they still look to get another guy like a Daniel Gafford? Nick Richards looks like he's on the block. Now, it's going to come down to how much they trust Huck Porty, because we all know Huck Porty can do great. He's just unproven yet in big spots for regular minutes, right? Does he deserve that shot first? But I do think they're either looking for, another wing, a ball handler, and then perhaps another big man if they do move on from Yab or Sele. Brian, I did hear a link about or interest in Andre Drummond. Previously, obviously, the Knicks have had some warm interest in Andre Drummond, right? Tonight, man, might have been an audition. Andre Drummond played well tonight. Look, Knicks dominated the glass, but, Drummond came up with big plays, man. Those 4 corner threes definitely changed the flow of tonight's game. And look, the Knicks were up 5 at one point. I think this game was a swing play either way. There was actually moments where you thought, okay, the Knicks are going to go on with this one. And all we needed to do was get a couple of stops, hit a couple of back-breaking threes, and you feel like Philadelphia would have just, had the air taken out of them. But, for whatever reason, the Knicks would turn it over. They would trip over themselves. They would give up a silly foul. And then the momentum, man, it shifted back to Philly in this one. So, it was a game of runs. I think the Knicks just, their legs were stuck in quicksand in this one. But, I thought we needed to attack the paint a lot more. Clearly the threes weren't going down, fam. Look, we've got to shout out OG more, because not just for his defense, but he's been the catalyst for such a season where we've shot the 3 ball, at an elite level. And OG is normally that guy that hits that timely 3. The NBA Cup last night in Indiana, OG Anunoby, that pump fake in the corner too. But we know when OG don't have his legs, you could see early, he just doesn't have that lift. Fumble the ball in the air, and Adem Bona was able to get the tip in that one. Jose G says 18 turnovers led to 16 points. And if Josh and OG had better shooting nights, even with JB going 7 of 22, we could still have won. Yeah, even with Mitch's point production, and look, that's a major positive to come out of this. I do want to hit on that because we've always said our offense could be more dangerous when they look for the big man, because most of the time people think it's 4-on-5 when Mitch is out there on offense. But what does Mitch provide? Rim verticality, a rim lob threat, not just the offensive rebounding. Kolek, Brunson, people were actually looking for Mitch. Cat, shout out to Cat for finding Mitch under the basket. He faked the three, saw that, Philly's defense took their eyes off, and JB and Cat and Kolek found Mitch under the basket for the and one too. So yeah, great recognition. Let's keep it going. Pick and roll. Let's continue to get Mitch 15 to 20 points a night. That's just going to make us so dangerous, man. Especially when the threes start going down again. Now let's talk about our free throws too. Was it the other night, man? The Knicks missed how many free throws tonight? Again, JB left a couple at the line. Cat as well. So these free throws, man, Mitch actually held us down. Yeah, we missed out on that Mitch legacy win for him. But look, we're still riding high, man. Don't get your head down too much, man. What are we, 19-8 now? Phenomenal record. When we're healthy, when we're rested, right, we're hard to stop, right? And we're coming for that top seed, right? Best believe, I'm confident the Knicks will get the top seed right now. I think Detroit's going to go through, some stormy weather. They're going to go through some turbulence. Is Detroit, right? Look, the test is going to get tougher for us too. We've got to go out west. We've got to play some of these gritty teams out west as well. Cool Breeze, salute, says back-to-backs is tough. JB and OG had no legs. We outscored them in the paint, out-rebounded them. We just ain't hit those timely shots. We good. 100% agree with you. I think our offense is evolving. I'm seeing some nice wrinkles, more playmaking. Kolek was just a bit more sloppy tonight. He didn't have it. And I think we good. But I am paying close attention to the other teams out east. As you guys said, Michael said Cavaliers struggling. Philadelphia showing flashes if they can get it together. But we've seen this before. Philadelphia look like they're about to take a step forward. They take a step back. Let's see what happens at the trade deadline. Do they try and move Paul George? Is that contract going to be tough for them to move? It's clearly Tyrese Maxey's team right now. You got Joel Embiid, out again with injury. And you see Tyrese Maxey carry them with some of the younger guys too. So I don't know if y'all caught it, but yeah, the new podcast with Max Kellerman and Rich Paul, right, on The Ringer. I did see a soundbite or hear a soundbite from Rich Paul, man. Obviously, friend and agent, Clutch Sports, LeBron James. Rich Paul made some interesting quotes about the Knicks. He said he feels the Knicks are a surface level trade or surface level move away from becoming legit, hot favorites or hot contenders, to really take out a championship. And I got to agree. I don't respect Max Kellerman much for the Knicks tape. Max Kellerman, interesting to listen to him about boxing and some other sports as well. But as a Knicks fan, yeah, Kellerman gave up his Knicks fandom. So, I can't rock with that. I don't respect that. But Rich Paul, when he's saying surface level trade away, I agree. That could just mean a Herb Jones. That could mean a Chris Middleton buyout. A guy that is a difference maker, a true impact player. It don't got to be a starter. It don't have to be a guy that shoots 40% from downtown. That would be nice. But if we do get a guy that could be an impact difference maker, where he could guard up for 25 minutes a night on one of the other team's best wings, whether it could be another guy that could give you 20 great minutes at the 5 spot, if Mitch is breathing or Cat's in foul trouble, I think we're that close. And I do think, clearly most people agree. after the Knicks won the NBA Cup, 6 in a row heading into tonight, it's clear to see that, okay, when Clarkson doesn't have it going and some of the other younger guys are struggling, maybe one more guy can come in and really, hold us down. We know how important Deuce McBride is. We've been winning without Deuce McBride, but you see tonight, okay, you can't win every game. You can't win every game if you don't have like a Deuce and a Shamit, some of these guys to really pick up the starters when those shots don't go down, man. Above the rim, salute, buzzer beater. Says Max left the Knicks fan base. Yeah, Michael Rappaport as well. People left, man. They couldn't stand the heat. When the times got tough, they gave up their Knicks fandom, fam. You know what? They're regretting it. Those guys want to stay relevant in the media and still give out their Knicks takes and keep their Knicks fandom. But we all know, man, those guys gave it up, fam. Michael Rappaport went over to Brooklyn too, fam. Look, I get it. They were hurting, man. We all hurt when this team was going through, the downs of the past, 3 decades, fam. But it don't mean you just, give up the fandom. Stephen A. Smith as well, Stephen A. Smith, man. That situation, like I said, the Knicks are always going to turn it around. It's just a matter of time. Obviously, it took longer than, it needed to. But, we got the right people in place. Dolan, I saw him on the sideline, baseline, man. He was smiling. He was enjoying the Knicks. One of those plays, I think, where the Knicks got up. Hart hit the bounce. I think Hart hit someone, Mikal Bridges for the open layup, the great cut. I saw Dolan, enjoying that play on the baseline. Obviously, Dolan been liking what he's seeing so far, and he's going to stay out of the way. Let these guys continue to run the team, successfully. So yeah, look, let's turn the page on the NBA Cup. The second half of the season is really turning now. Christmas Day, big game coming up against Miami. This team got to feel good, the position it's in, but I also think they need to keep their head down, man, and just stay hungry. A lot of teams looking up at the Knicks. We're looking down, but a lot of teams looking up at the Knicks saying, we want to come and get them. We fancy our chances to knock them off, and we have to stay hungry. And a lot of hard workers. Hopefully, Mike Brown continue to, play the right guys, the right rotations. The offense is looking good. Question marks over the defense still. I thought tonight the Knicks probably, if there's a stretch where they lost the game, was start of the third. Again, it's kind of sickening to see every game, the start of the third, after halftime. We thought it was a Tibbs thing, but as much as I love to, talk about some of Tibbs' shortcomings, I don't think it's a Tibbs thing. It's just something with his team that third quarter, they just come out slow. They come out lackadaisical, and the game swung. We had a 2-point lead, 3-4 minutes into the third quarter. Philly was up 5. Philly was up 7. That's the moment where you need to come out in the third and say, hey, we can bury this team on the road. This team that's on the road, we're at home. We come out in the third quarter, we blitz them, go on a 10-0 run. We could put the game to bed. But no, we come out slow. We come out kind of still half asleep, and we're in another dogfight. So one of the biggest weaknesses I'm seeing is just lapses in concentration and getting too sloppy. Start of the third, got to get that killer mentality and start to bury these teams. When we get some kind of a lead at home. Spike Lee held out. Yeah, shout out. Jay from Puerto Rico also says these back-to-backs usually kill us. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was expecting to lose last night and come back and bounce back in this one, but it was reverse. But look, last night, feel good vibes. Probably one of the best wins on the season outside of the NBA Cup win, outside of a couple of these other wins. Such a gritty win, in Indiana, and just a letdown tonight. But yeah, they're human. Like Queen's Play says, no legs, Mike Brown should have recognized with this one. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure we can find some of those places, man, to put those flip-floppers in, buzzer. Put them in, put them on an island somewhere. um, the playoffs don't have no back-to-backs. Yeah, we good. Yeah, as well as the back-to-back, you got to look at the other team having 5 days rest. Philadelphia. If that's the best shot that they have with 5 days rest and we still almost pulled it out, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine, fam. We're going to be good. But like I said, not to say I don't think there's areas for improvement. We are maybe a surface level move away. If you just look at it like this, think of if Yabusele was giving us, last season's version of Yabusele. How strong would this team be? It'd be so tough to stop. Bench would be more productive. The starters could really sit and rest more. I do think, though, one major positive to come out of tonight is Mitchell Robinson is really starting to, turn the corner based on, his slower start to the season. Maybe easing Mitch in has been the best, cause of action, to start this season. I had my doubts. I thought, what are they really doing? And when is Mitch going to get rammed up? But it does look like, the slow start to the season, he's definitely coming on strong right now, with rebounding, dominating the paint. The shots just didn't drop in this one tonight. And we did look like a smaller team tonight. Got Kolek, got Clarkson, got Brunson. That worked. In the NBA Cup game, we had speed, we had the legs, we had the adrenaline, and we were able to create good offense, create shots. Tonight, against like Edgecombe and, even Justin Edwards, a lot of those wings, Quentin Grimes, McCain, they all had more size. And I think they kind of, did slow us down a little bit with the size. Hart was a little sloppy. Kolek was sloppy too. AP agrees, says it's not fair. Philadelphia was off for 5 days. Yeah, the NBA, look, I'm not going to say that making the schedule is easy, right? You got so many factors, TV, you got advertising, you got 30 teams, you got the NBA Cup and that, but they need to do better. They need to do better than this situation, right? Shuffle a few games around, There's other sports, other leagues where they actually, in season, they acknowledge, okay, let's reschedule this game. I don't know why the NBA, when they make the schedule months out, why can't they acknowledge that, okay, a series of events has occurred, this team has made the cup final, let's shuffle that game and move that a couple of days ahead. I mean, it's not difficult. They just refuse to do that. To salute to Doug Fresh. Cretona B says the Knicks messed up my parlay tonight, man. I feel sorry. Obviously, things didn't work out in this one. Big up though. We'll bounce back. Plenty of time to get at it. But look, 3 big games coming up, right? Let's see how we refocus from our NBA Cup triumph. Again, still on a high over that, but the rest of the season is more important. We'll deal with this banner situation at some point in the future. Maybe we even wait. It could be years. Where they think, okay, 10 years in, we won an NBA Cup, we'll do a banner. But right now, we don't want it as a distraction. Right? I kind of understand, despite I disagree. I think it would be cool to acknowledge that. I mean, what do you got? Harry Styles banner at MSG. You got 2013 Atlantic Division banner as well. I do think the time's got to come where they should acknowledge this, NBA Cup win. It is the second biggest trophy or a tournament that you can win in the NBA. I don't think people celebrate a division or a conference, because if you lose the finals or you don't win the chip, that's just like celebrating second best. But our Knicks are winners. We won the NBA Cup. Out of 30 teams, we were the last one standing. So yeah, with that said, I'm more interested in how we play against Miami now. That's a team we always need to beat. Forget about tonight. Forget about Philadelphia. We didn't have the legs in this one, but man, Brunson's been a killer this season, right? He absolutely took the heart out of Indiana last night. Andrew Nembhard, how good did that feel, guys? What a game, what a finish that was late, man. The amount of shots and plays Kolek was making, it's like, man, he really hears that noise, right? He wants to be a Knick. and I'm proud to root for Tyler Kolek. Glad we drafted him. I did have some doubts early last season. After summer league, definitely had some doubts. Not gonna lie, but I always believed the talent was there. It's just we're on a different timeline. It's just how soon could he? You know, a player that's a first round type talent. They've always got that talent. It's just a matter of, okay, when are they going to really turn the corner? When are they going to break out? And for Tyler Kolek to kind of have this breakout, so early in his second season is a big tick to him. Tick to the coaching staff as well, the rest of the squad, helping mentoring and letting this guy develop. Ruckers approves, says Brian. Definitely, man. His game, I like that little behind the back dribble, right? Right when they try to shut off his dribble, he goes behind the back and he gets separation. So he's been working, man. He's been putting in that work, has Tyler Kolek, in finding ways. Okay, I'm undersized, I'm not athletic. He's finding ways where he can get his shot, where he can get separation. He's been working on it. Chris Brickley, the New York City Sky Gym, been putting in work with scrimmages with other NBA athletes, in the summer as well. And I really like in his soft touch, that he's got the scoop layup, looks kind of more solid than Deuce McBride's scoop layup. Like Deuce McBride got the pull up, the mid range, and all of that. But in terms of just going to the rack, Tyler Kolek's got that lefty scoop, which looks great, looks money. Tonight he had the little close, tight dribble in the paint, defender on his back as well, waits and then takes it strong, and it got the little floater or the scoop as well. Yeah, even last night Brunson didn't have legs until late, and two. So yeah, look, I love the fight in Hart, Bridges, and Brunson and that, but I could see where things can go wrong with Tibbs and Brown because you have so much trust in your players. Sometimes you become like blind to see that they're struggling physically because you believe in their heart, you believe that they're going to get it done. But that's why being a coach is very important. You need to acknowledge, okay, am I doing a disservice by keeping this guy out there? Right? They're never going to say, "Take me out, coach." You need to be a coach. You need to decide. You need to make that call. No, you don't have it. Have a seat, right? And sometimes you have to make that tough call, right? Have a rest, or keep you on the bench a little bit longer just to get your legs back. Now, Cat sat out. I think tonight was a game where we could have maybe gone to Cat a lot more down low, get Drummond into foul trouble a lot more. Cat was more perimeter based tonight because obviously Mitchell Robinson had the game that he had. But yeah, I thought Brunson didn't have it. We should have rode Cat a lot more in this one. And obviously a couple of threes, that swing threes didn't go down. I thought Mikal Bridges, he hit a couple, but he also missed a couple of what would have been, huge buckets, timely buckets too. But yeah, I thought the 3, 4, 5 turnovers from Kolek, I forget how many he had, but that kind of did stymie a lot of momentum, fam. The crowd was getting into it. Yeah, and unfortunately, I think, Kolek was just a bit too sped up tonight. But yeah, overall, like Cool Breeze says, the NBA game's starting to slow down for him. That's why you need to play, build that confidence. Yeah, I want him to put up more threes as well. I do think a 3-point ball is probably the next thing in Kolek's development. If he can start to knock that down, 36%, 38%, hopefully become maybe a 40% guy, because they are going to go under the screens as well. They ain't going to trust Kolek's 3 too much. But if he can start to knock that one down, man, his ability to get into the paint is even going to be, a lot more easy for him as we progress too. He's got the lob, phenomenal passing game, skill set. The dribble looks stronger as well. He's able to fend off the defender a bit more. You could see he's got a bit more definition in his upper body, stronger on the bicep. And look, Tyler Kolek going to continue to put in that work, but he is 25. So I think from a physical standpoint, he is what he is. I just think more experience is gonna, help him out a lot more too. Cool Breeze with a great stat. Salute. We only scored 2 points off their 16 turnovers. Yeah, because most of the time we got sped up and we threw it away. We turned it over as well. I think the Garden crowd, the adrenaline was really, speeding these guys up, and their legs just were heavy. Usually, when the crowd and you want to speed yourself up, but the legs can't go, you start to trip over, fam. You start to turn it over as well. I would love to see more Diawara, Dadier, McCullough, Tosan, some of these other guys tonight, Jemison as well. But yeah, look, it is what it is. Mike Brown went for it. Would have been a great back-to-back win. Would have been phenomenal, but ain't gonna trip over one loss too much. Over what? This is our first loss in two, three weeks. And so, yeah, let's see how we do in these next three. Christmas Day, not going to lie, I want to, demoralize and take the heart out of Cleveland. We could really, further cement their turmoil. Who knows what's going to happen with Kenny Atkinson, man? If they continue to lose, do they trust and stick with Kenny Atkinson into the season? Do they try and make a more of a blockbuster deal and trade a bigger piece for Cleveland, right? Time is now. Time is ticking for the Cavaliers, right? Philadelphia could start to make a run. I'm also paying close attention to how close Boston can stay within striking range, because I do think Jason Tatum, he's put the word out there. He's intending to come back, fam. And look, if you're Boston, you can get him back for the playoffs, and he gets the all clear, and he's cleared to play medically, and they're within the top 5 seed. That puts them like right there with their talent. And you got younger guys that are playing and more confident now. Jordan Walsh, Josh Minot. You've got Jaylen Brown, all of those guys. Now, they don't have Horford or Porzingis, but they've still got some of those other guys. They're going to be tough, right? I think Boston could be a top 3 seed if Tatum can get back. Let's see how that plays out. But yeah, Cleveland's all over the place. Miami, hit and miss. Orlando's hit and miss. I think it's a Knicks Detroit right now. Then there's a huge drop. I can't even remember who's third right now, fam. I will pull it up. But yeah, I think Boston's got to be right there in terms of seriousness. Philly, they were 5th heading into tonight. But we all know Pat Riley, Miami Heat, they are going to be aggressive, right? Looks like Tyler Hero is going to be a huge trade candidate because they've got Norm Powell. Do they look at Tyler Hero as expendable, and maybe they try to move him in a Giannis deal? He's a Wisconsin native. I did read that, so I think Tyler Hero is a guy that could be on the move. Let's see what happens. Khalil Ware is a great young piece. That could get them something back if they wanted to sacrifice the future to make a win-now move. Lauri Markkanen could be a guy that would fit well along with Bam Adebayo too. Benjamin says a trade should come soon. This team still has depth issues at the forward spot. Yeah, look, Yabusele is leaving a void right now. Look, our guard play when Deuce Shamit return is strong. But yeah, the wing spot, we need some more guys that can play above the rim, like a above the rim threat. Look at VJ Edgecombe, man, skying from nowhere, kind of like an Iman Shumpert, former Knick. Shout out Iman Shumpert. A guy like that could just play above the rim, man. J.R. Smith, get the crowd fired up, change a ball game with the athleticism, right? We're kind of missing that. We've got shot makers. Most of these guys are ground bound, Some of these guys, man, I love them, but they can't get over a phone book when their legs aren't there. Even OG don't have, too much hops. Too. Mikal Bridges, even if he has a clear dunk, he'll try to lay it up. Sometimes he gets blocked. as well. So look, I trust and believe in Leon Rose, right? People believe we are a surface level move away from really putting separation on the pack. But look, Detroit, as Buzzer Beater says, man, Detroit haven't played anybody too. I'll hit on that in a sec. Shout out to everyone in the building, rocking with us live. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Detroit, I think they deserve to be where they're at. Strong roster they're building. Hungry dogs off their bench with Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart. They've got the enforcer guy. They've got the blue chip prospect guy, Cade. All things are going right for Detroit. That's shaping up to be most likely a second, third round, depending on what Boston can do. But I tell you, man, I would love Detroit to face Boston in the first or second round. So those two Bulls can lock horns before we face them. That would be cool too, guys, as well. Now, we all know most likely we're going to get the top seed or the second seed, barring a catastrophe, right? So that's going to mean we are going to avoid the first seed until the third round. If you finish second or third, you avoid the first seed until the third round, assuming they get there, right? But like I said, if the first seed is Detroit, let's say, and Boston finish fourth, those guys could be on a collision course before we get there. That's going to be very, very interesting, fam. I would love to see the two Florida teams face off as well, as scrap it out to above the rim salute. Yep. BBL needs to go. 30 games in, man. Hasn't displayed anything. Ivy back too. Yeah, look, Ivy could be a trade candidate. I don't think, 3-point shot is still a bit suspect with him. But in terms of what trades do we need, AP? Look, I would look at two things. I would look at trying to get a wing and just try to get more athleticism, whether it be at the 5 or 4 spot. But we need a guy that can check, the other team's best players, best wings, and maybe a guy that could play above the rim. Look at, maybe a like for like, replacement for Yabu. I don't know what's up with Daniel. You got Daniel Gafford. That would be a nice move to look at. Royce O'Neal, Najee Marshall, another guy like that. Chris Middleton, if he gets bought out, I would be trying to be all over that. Another proven champion and veteran in that locker room would be great, right? On a buyout deal. Obviously, I'm not trading nothing for a guy like Chris Middleton because, his health is obviously in the mud, but it could be worth a flyer on a buyout. Really wish we went after Jabari Walker. Yeah, I like that name, fam. Ayo Dosunmu is a name to look out for. I understand the vision when we talk about, Jose Alvarado. I understand like Javon Carter and those guys, maybe Keon Ellis. They would add something. I'm not going to say that they, I wouldn't, like those guys on the team. I just think it's kind of similar to what we have, but just a little bit better. Maybe a little bit more trusted and reliable. But more guys that are below the rim, right? Below the rim, man. We have above the rim in the chat, right? I want guys that are above the rim. I think that would be another guy or two that could play above the rim would really balance this roster out a lot. I mentioned, because I do want to shout out some former Knicks, J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, they could change a game. They could break a game, get the crowd juiced. Look at that play from VJ Edge come tonight, man. Nobody boxed him out, but he just comes crashing in, man, skying from the heavens and throws it down, right? As much as I love our guards, we don't have players that can do that right now. Josh Hart can do it occasionally, but he ain't finishing like that, above the rim, too, fam. So I can understand the Quentin Grimes situation. We traded him. Look, Quentin Grimes still got a lot to go with, but that's not the kind of wing I'm looking for right now. Too, he can knock shots down, but again, he's undersized, fam. Sadiq Bey, that's a good name. Sadiq Bey's a good name as well. He's in the rotation for New Orleans. He's playing well. I don't think we're going to get a guy like a Sadiq Bey, Herb Jones, or Trey Murphy unless we're really serious about moving Mitch, right? I could understand if the Pelicans, would be interested in Mitch as a free agent, as a homecoming, going back to New Orleans, but I don't think we're going to get a solid wing like that unless we're really serious about moving on from a Mitch or a Deuce. Now, I don't know about Kolek's trade value. It's a little early to around the league. I do think his trade value has obviously gone up by what he's been able to show, in getting minutes. Now, who knows if Kolek got minutes last season, maybe he could have been a real, not to say that I want to move Kolek because I don't, but I'm just saying in terms of trade value, if you think, okay, we need a wing, okay, who have we got that's a trade asset? But right now, I don't see Leon Rose taking that risk, moving on from one of our top 7 guys. You absolutely have to try to win that championship this season and go for it. I can't see the mid-season abandoning the chemistry and the current squad with Mitch and Deuce, and that those guys are part of it. The eighth man, the ninth man, the 10th man, like Yabu and Clarkson and these guys, yeah, I could see something. I could see something happening, unless it's like a Giannis deal, which I don't think is going to happen mid-season. I mean, so the latest on Giannis, guys, is he just doesn't want to come out and force a trade. So that we all know that now, and he could have all the conversations in the world with the front office, but unless he says trade me, Milwaukee's not interested in trading him. They ain't going to do it yet. Right now, they're delusional, and they're still trying to make a win now, acquisition. They're still thinking that Milwaukee's still thinking that they could make a move for like a Tyler Hero, and hopefully please Giannis so that he could stay. Right, it's just going to set them back even further. But let's see what happens. It's best for us for the future as well as our chances if Giannis doesn't go to another team. If Giannis goes to Miami, Orlando, or another team out east, that just makes this season more tricky. So hopefully Giannis can just stay pat, and then all cards could be on the table for the summer, if we don't end up winning that championship, right? Yeah, they are going to force Giannis to speak up, to be that bad guy. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. Giannis is even using his agent as a cover-up. He's probably got, him and his agent on the same page. It's like, look, you don't say nothing. I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the bad cop. Giannis' agent going to be the one to tell the Bucks, look, he's not going to extend, get him out of there. But Giannis ain't going to say it. Yeah, man, Deuce is a terror, even when Brunson don't have it. I would love to see Deuce Kolek minutes as well. Even Deuce Kolek Clarkson minutes for a little bit. It can work. We saw it in the NBA Cup. It's not a look that you want to play too much, if it's struggling defensively in the playoffs. But look, certain matchups, it could be great in terms of ball movement. Deuce McBride got an outlet with Kolek. You got other guys, that are really capable of sharing and caring, man. Getting that ball swinging to the corners, getting the shots out for the threes, and just juicing up our offense too, But in terms of that wing guys and like a Chris Middleton, also what he could bring is shot creation, fam. Shot creation. When all things break down and the shot clock's going down, he can create a shot. He can step back, hit a tough shot over someone. He can say, look, Brunson, get in the corner. I'm taking this play, and hitting a big bucket on someone as well. Like, not going to lie, would love another player like that. Let's see. I'm confident someone good is going to get bought out that I think can help this team. And look, I know there's going to be competition around the league, but there's a lot of contenders still. But if you're a top player that potentially gets bought out, you'd have to be looking at the New York Knicks saying, hey, if you can, play a major role for us coming off the bench, and you could potentially help us win a championship in New York City, that is going to be absolutely huge. Dante DiVincenzo. Look, I love Dante, and I would get hyped if Dante returns. But I'm not going to lie, I still feel like it's similar to what we have, just slightly more dependable, or maybe better, marginally. Deuce can knock down shots still. Dante doesn't really play above the rim too much either, and he ain't really a lockdown defender either. But it would help us. It would help the team as another reliable guy. Yeah, like I said earlier, Middleton only for a buyout, vet minimum. He's on 30 million right now, so no team's trading for Middleton. Wizards and him, they're gonna cut ties, and he's gonna sacrifice some salary, to get onto a contending team. That's what I would do, fam. Basically, they could negotiate a buyout. Let's say he's owed 30 million. They could say, look, you pay me 25. You save 5 million, and the team that acquires me pays the rest. And it's a win-win. Washington's not interested in winning games. They save some money. Middleton goes to a team where he can help and win, and the other team can get him on the cheap. Let's see what happens, fam. There'll be some more guys, maybe Sexton with the Charlotte Hornets. Don't forget, when it comes to that final 25 games of the season, fam, and these teams turn their eye on the tank game, they don't want to be winning any meaningless games, right? They want to be all in on this generational draft, and a top 5 pick could get you a franchise-changing player, right? So your Utahs, your Charlottes, your Wizards, they don't want to be winning any Brooklyns. They don't want to be winning any of these final 20 games, right? The tank game is going to be insane. And they're going to be sitting guys. They're going to be, calling guys off the street to be playing for them and buying out any guy that could help them win a game, or sitting them down. So I do think there's going to be heaps of guys get bought out. And hopefully, some of these guys could, come to the Knicks and help us out, or a trade. I do think the Alvarado thing is a real possibility. But obviously in the last week, we all know, man, things can change in a New York minute, with Tyler Kolek really coming on strong. And we really got to see. But I do think we need more size, man. Yabusele, hybrid 4-5, big man that could help us out a bit more. Look, Yabusele knocked down a 3 earlier, but he's just not moving well. I don't know what's up. We might find out at a later time. But yeah, he just ain't clicking right now. So look, to wrap it all up, fam, appreciate y'all coming through. Big up to you, and blessings. Happy holidays to everyone. What a stretch for our New York Knicks, man. Top seed, here we come. Tonight's loss is more schedule based, but we're really confident. We're riding high. We're on a roll. NBA Cup champions. Big win last night in Indiana. Players are feeling more confident. The coach is trusting more guys, and let's see how we do over the next week with 3 tougher games. We've beaten Minnesota already though, and but Miami is going to be a real swing game in the series coming up next. And then obviously Christmas Day, I do think adrenaline, Madison Square Garden crowd is going to be absolutely lit. Orange and blue, it's what we do. Let's go, everyone, salute. And I'll catch you on the next game, post-game live, back here again. You already know what it is. See you soon. Peace.